for maintaining and improving safe working conditions and practices. This includes competency training and risk assessments for all staff members. Reporting of injuries. Employers should report any such cases to the HSE Incident Contact Centre. This includes loss of sight, amputation, fracture and electrical shock. Health and safety. Whatever the size of your business, you should always make sure you have a first aid kit on site and all staff members know where the first aid kit is and how to use it. There should be at least one appointed person on hand to take charge in an emergency. Manual handling operations is relevant wherever manual lifting occurs to prevent skeletal and muscular disorders. The employer should undertake a risk assessment for all activities, including manual lifting. Health and safety covers the use of a display screen and computer screens. This specifies the acceptable levels of radiation emission from the screen, as well as identifying the correct posture and number of rest periods. Provision and use of work equipment regulations states that it's the duty of any employer and anyone using equipment to be trained and in the use of and maintaining the equipment. PPE equipment is to be used by all staff members during any treatment that requires it. Cosmetic products require that cosmetics and toiletries are safe and are intended for the purpose that you are using them for, and that they comply with labelling requirements. The regulatory reform. All premises must have adequate means of dealing with a fire, and all members of staff should know where these are. This can include the fire extinguishers and blankets, and staff members need to know how to use them, where they are stored, and where the fire drill should take place. Fire drill notices should be clearly displayed and should inform people of what to do in a fire, as should fire exits and meeting points. Electricity at work regulations. Electrical items are potentially hazardous and should be used and maintained properly. You should always ensure that you are fully trained to use a piece of equipment before operating it. All equipment should be regularly pack tested to ensure it is safe to use, and if any equipment is deemed to be faulty or unsafe, you should stop using it immediately. Once the problem has been corrected, you can start to use it again. Control of substances hazardous to health. COSH regulations cover the essential requirements for controlling exposure to substances hazardous to health. They should be, a substance is considered to be hazardous if it can cause harm to the body. Always check the ingredients and instructions of all products and store appropriately, and decide on the degree of risk and who to minimise that risk. If you can, try to replace high-risk products with lower-risk ones. Never leave a chemical unidentified. Local government. A special treatment licence may be required if you carry out any form of massage, electrolysis or ear piercing and tattooing, as they may produce blood or body tissue fluid. Each council in the UK has different requirements. If you're in a different country, contact your own local council to make sure that you are dealing with the any of the issues above correctly. And if you need a licence, you need to obtain one. The Consumer Protection Act protects the customer from unsafe or defective services or products. All staff should be trained in using and maintaining products. Sale and Supply of Goods Act. This states that goods must be described and of a satisfactory quality. They should be fit for purpose and safe for use. It is the responsibility of the retailer to correct a problem where the goods are not as described. Trade Descriptions Act. These acts prohibit the use of false description of goods or services. Information must always be accurate, false comparisons must not be made, and misleading price comparisons must not be made. A product may not be described as being of a reduced price if it has not been available at a higher price for a minimum of 28 days. The Disability Discrimination Act. You should always ensure that clients are not discriminated against on the grounds of disability. You cannot use this as a reason to refuse or provide a service, provide a customer to a lesser standard, or fail to make reasonable adjustments. The premises must be able to facilitate access for disabled people. The Equality Act 2010 gives disabled people important rights of access to everyday services. Service providers have an obligation to make reasonable adjustments to premises or to the way they provide a service. Sometimes it just takes a minor change to make a service accessible. What is considered a reasonable adjustment for a large business such as a bank may be different from what is a reasonable adjustment from a small local salon. It is about what is practical in the service provider's individual situation and what resources the business may have. You will not be required to make adjustments that are not reasonable because they are unaffordable or impractical.